Wow. I didn't know we had time for that. Well, originally I was going to be a recording engineer. Changed that up pretty quickly. I've always been in tech. Always kind of been in the software space. Did that in school. I'm not going to give you the whole history. But I met my co-founders. We had 6 of us at Unbounce. In another company, we did online gambling. It was a lot of fun, learned a lot. So we actually had the idea for Unbounce because we lived the pain that we solve for our customers. I was running all of our software development, and this was many, many years ago, probably 20 years ago. And Rick, our CEO, creative director at the time, would always be working with marketing, and they'd always have these ideas for campaigns. Obviously, always at the last minute, right? Because inspiration strikes, we've got a new partner, we've got something we want to do, and we want to do it next week. Well, you know, back in the day, we had software projects, and that included the website, lined up for 2 quarters, and so when an idea like that came along, we'd be like, well, we can do it in November, and it's like April. So clearly, that was not working to make marketing great. And so as co-founders, we kind of thought to ourselves, wow, I wonder if other companies have the same problem. Is it hard for marketers to create content to make great campaigns? Turns out it was. And so that's actually how we got the idea for Unbounce 10 years ago. And that's how we got our start.
So this is a fairly similar origin story for a lot of people that start software companies, is scratching their own itch.
Totally.
Is that something that you guys felt you had a different angle on, something that didn't exist in the market at all, or you felt you could do it differently?
Yeah, no, for sure, because back in the day, and kind of forever in terms of the web, you had a lot of content creation systems. We got this question all the time. Folks are like, well, how are you different from like Day software, and how are you different from WordPress, and how are you different from all these other things? And so yes, there was a lot of work that we had to do to convince folks that, well, actually, those tools aren't doing a great job of allowing marketers to be marketers and to tell a compelling story and to put the control of their messaging in their hands. They've still got to work with a designer or a developer or something like that. And so it was very specific around the pain that we were solving.
So the simplicity and speed to market was sort of paramount for you.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, great. And as being a startup, as many people here probably can attest to and experience, there's always the rough road. The first 6 months feels a little sketchy.
Wait, do they ever get smooth?
Yeah. We'll get to some of those pieces later. But what were some of the early parts of the parts that you struggled with, and maybe how you found your way past that?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. You shared the chart, right, of the curvy road. So it's hard to pick out just one, but one that does stand out is focus. In the early days, we had a lot of temptation, let's say, to, we should go enterprise. There's big money in enterprise, and we were charging, our lowest plan was $10 a month at the time. Or, you know what, you should have an affiliate program, or you should have a white label program, or all these other like high growth mechanisms. And to Rick's credit, actually, just keeping us focused on one thing, small, medium businesses, solving that problem really, really well, that was the thing I think that kind of made us successful, was that.
How were you able to eliminate the other distractions? Was there executive conversations that had around that? Was there a bit of debate amongst, because you guys have 6
Yeah, there were 6 co-founders. So
that's a lot of leads at the table saying, yes, we should do this, and how did you guys kind of come to some consensus on that?
Well, I think we've also heard the benefit of coaches and counseling and perhaps therapy. Look, it's, you know what, we're all humans, and sometimes you really need to embrace that. And I think for us, eventually, using coaches and everything to help us really clarify what we were about. We spent a lot of time developing our vision, our mission, and things like that, and that actually really helped to clarify where we should focus.
Okay, and so you mentioned mission and vision. How were you then able to take what you guys felt was the direction of the company, what was necessary? How did you find the best way to translate to the staff so that they saw sort of their work in what you were asking of them?
Yeah, well, we found a lot of wrong ways to do it. And so we had to iterate a lot. Communication was one of the hardest things. We're now 200 people, and from 30 to 50 to even 80, those were all very different companies as we hit those milestones. And so for us, we tried everything from, okay, we'll do weekly stand-up town halls, we'll do monthly town halls, we'll do regular emails, we'll do PowerPoints, we'll do stories, we'll do all kinds of things. And so we tried, and you know what, the answer is going to be different for every company, right? We're all unique in some way. And for us, the thing that finally worked was two things. So repetition. We hear this all the time. If your team is telling you that they've heard that before or they've heard it too much, then you might have gotten it just right. So for us, it was repetition, and then finally kind of distilling our messaging down to one page and keeping with the same words, not trying to use new words to describe the same thing all the time, because that just confuses everybody. And it sounds really, really, really simple, but I can't stress how important that is to just be consistent in your internal messaging.
There's a quote from Mark Horstman that I really love. I put in a lot of slides and in presentations that I do, is it's say something 7 times and your team will say they heard it once.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Yeah. Did you use any systems, EOS, Gazelles, anything for boiling down to that one page to be able to communicate?
No, we used a particular coaching firm that had their own methodology.
Okay. Yeah.
We've read about a ton of them, but no, it was a proprietary methodology.
Okay. And do you recall a point where you recognized what you were building was actually gaining steam and really starting to take off?
Oh, wow. That's kind of interesting because I don't think there was a single defining moment like that. It's been, if you actually look at our revenue growth, it's kind of just this kind of straight line once we started. I will say the big validation point was the first time we had somebody from a big company actually sign up. I think, and this was back in the day, so it was Corel. If anybody even remembers Corel. No longer exactly what you think of as a big company in tech. But I still remember actually that sign up and seeing that. I was like, oh wow, we've got the attention of somebody important. Yeah. And of course that just got lost in the noise of everything else. But yeah, there wasn't a single defining moment.
Okay. Any tools or systems or strategies that you applied that you felt led to some of that bigger attraction, either in market recognition or in revenue growth?
Ooh, that's tough. One of the things that we did, and I might not be directly answering your question, so feel free to ask it again. But with 6 co-founders, we had an ability to do a lot of things. And so one of our co-founders just happened to be really good at writing. And it was our early work in blogging and talking about what we were doing well before we had a product. So from day one, we launched our blog and our website. We didn't have any kind of product until about 10 months later, and even then it was awful, right? We always launch our products when they're not ready. That's good. And it was I think our writing and our blog, and just really, really taking a mindset of trying to educate our audience around conversion optimization and how you should do good marketing and those sorts of things that gave us an audience, so that when we did have software, we actually had traction already.
Right.
And so content marketing worked really well for us.
Yeah, excellent. Okay. How do you ensure the future of the company? So you guys have grown, you're what you would call sort of a larger company now.
Yeah.
How do you continue to sustain that, but also balance growth?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm going to go back a little bit to vision and mission. So it needs to be kind of inspiring enough and not really aggressive enough, but forward-thinking enough that it gives everybody kind of that direction, right? And so we've kind of nailed that we want the world to experience better marketing. That's our why. That's why we exist. And so number 1 is answering the why. What's special? And then number 2 is kind of related to we've heard about this as well, like nailing what you do well as a founder and then giving everything else away as much as you possibly can. And it gets to be a tricky bit of balancing how much you give away. But for us, giving away as much as we can, being clear on vision, and then being clear on the success metric. And this one took us quite a while to get right, because we thought, hey, we know what we're doing. We're helping folks create content, right? That's how they're powering their campaigns. That's how they're being successful. And it took us a while though to kind of look at that and go, well, wait a minute. So how are we actually adding value to the world? Is it the amount of content you create? No, not really, because we don't need more content. I don't know if you've seen advertising on BBC these days, but the page barely loads. It's terrible. So that's not it. That's not a success metric. And it wasn't until and it seemed obvious, but it took us embarrassingly a few years to finally settle on the fact that it was really our customers' conversions and helping them convert better in their campaigns was how we were going to judge our success. And that seems like a small thing, but it's been huge in terms of, and I see this now throughout the company, where before teams would be looking at, hey, how can we give you 10 ideas for a campaign, or how can we make it faster for you to create content? Now everybody is geared around, how do we get you better business results? How do we help you grow your business? How do we help deliver more conversions? And so that helps orient everybody's activity towards that one success metric.
Excellent. No, that's a great view. Their ROI in turn becomes your ROI.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay. And so similarly, people may be starting out. Maybe they're just starting in their garage or in their basement. Maybe they have a staff of 8. These are some history that you have. What would be the advice that you give them, or what would you give your advice to yourself at that point when you're just trying to scale past that 10% mark?
Well, actually, 10 was easy because for us it was only 4 employees. That one's you know what? I'm actually I'm going to rephrase your question a little bit because scaling past 10 is not hard. It's scaling past 30. For me, the inflection point that we experienced was right there, because up until about 30 people, you could actually have, it gets a little crazy, but you can actually have regular one-on-ones with virtually everybody. You can do that. You can actually have conversations where, you know what, actually, maybe work on this, not that. Maybe, you know what, that actually works. Past 30, that completely falls apart. And so for us, it was getting hiring right and hiring the right skill set mix and taking that leap of faith to start hiring roles that are that you're going to need as you get to the next layer. I think that was the kind of real tricky part for us. So we didn't hire people in culture until our 40th hire. We didn't hire finance until 43. Getting those foundational skill sets earlier, and again, this depends on your trajectory. If you know you're going well past 10 and 30, then getting the foundational mix right early on, I think we would have saved ourselves a lot of hassle if we had done some of that hiring earlier, as opposed to hiring on the little things that, hey, here's all the work we have to do. Oh, well, we need more software development. We need more marketing. We need all those things. And that, I think, actually slowed us down a little bit in the early days, even though we thought we were investing in what would actually accelerate this.
So people talk a lot about hiring for culture, not hiring for skill. Would you say that is counterintuitive, that when you're smaller, you may need to hire for skill, then you can have the opportunity to hire for culture later, or do you feel like that's sort of a false dichotomy?
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far. I think culture is king.
Yep.
You can train for skills. We've done this over and over and over again. I would rather hire somebody who doesn't know a particular programming language or a particular framework, and if they've got the right cultural fit, they'll be an amplifier. And if they don't, it doesn't matter how individually productive they are. So culture over skill.
Would you say that that's something that changed for you, that you learned later, or were you fairly focused on hiring for culture early on, if you remember that?
We were fairly focused on it. We weren't very good at it.
Okay.
So I heard a couple chuckles.
Yeah.
Because it takes a long time to, number one, understand the culture that you want to create. And in our case, it was co-created. It was around 30 employees where we picked, probably about 6 folks that we thought really exemplified the kind of company that we wanted to create. And we codified that, what our values meant, and those sorts of things. And then we started to try to hire against those, and of course failed miserably. And once
You were still trying to figure them out.
right, because remember, we didn't hire our first people and culture person until 41, right? And so they got on board and finally taught us about, okay, you know what, actually ask behavioral questions.
Right.
So I forget what the sample question was, like, what do you study at home, right? What technology stuff do you play with at home? I wouldn't ask that.
Right.
I would ask, how do you spend your free time? If that's what you wanted to know, and that's a tricky, be careful about taking into people's personal lives.
They share too much.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, asking behavioral questions that actually give them the opportunity to display the values that you're looking for. So the last time you had a conflict with your manager, what did you learn from that? For example, if you're looking for, say, humility or communications, right, or something like that. But really asking folks not, you know, can you, will you, but what did you?
Yeah. If you ask a hypothetical question in hiring, they will give you a hypothetical answer.
Yes. Yeah. And actually, we were talking about this a little bit earlier too. We've started to use tools, and we don't do this for everybody. But there's behavioral personality tests now that we can use. CDRs, insights, all sorts of things that give you a really good idea, especially when you're senior hires,
Right.
of what somebody's really about. So,
Yeah, I've been a DISC proponent for.
yeah, DISC is great. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, great. And you alluded to this earlier, it's something I call the law of doubling, is every time your company doubles in size, you feel like you're fundamentally restarting. Is that something that feels true to you? Like you said, you kind of got to 30 and 60 again, it was like what got us here, what got us to where we're going?
100%, yeah, because every time it's like, oh, well, the folks who we thought was our senior leadership team aren't the same folks anymore. Now it's a whole new group. Now you have to do all the change management around, okay, no, we're promoting a new group of folks, and all the communication channels that worked at 50 don't work anymore, so now we've got to redo that. All the meeting structures that worked, no, those have to be redone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's learning all the way down.
Yeah. Do you feel like that has changed at a certain scale, or do you feel like you do reach those inflection points from time to time as you continue to grow?
Yeah, and it's, like I said, it's 30, it's 80, it's 150, Dunbar's number, right? And I'll let you know once we get to 500.
Good, excellent. So with that, I guess a final question, what would you define as success, both for Unbounce, but also for yourself personally in the corporate-driven mission, but also how you fit within that?
Wow, so those are two huge questions. Okay, so Unbounce is pretty easy. You know, we look at our customer success. Are we helping our customers be successful? We even define that. So that's the one. But then we kind of look at the larger picture and we go, wow, are we actually helping the world experience better marketing, not just more marketing? And so it's really holding ourselves to that standard. And if our customers, if we hear from not just our customers but the world at large that that we're making an impact there, then that feels a little bit more like success. So yeah, we loved the fact that, you know, we're now 30 million in revenue and we're growing, you know, 18% year on year. All those are great. Those are good, healthy things in a healthy company. But we like to look more at the impact that we're actually having on people, because at the end of the day, it's actually about people. Right? Personal success, that's a really personal question. So I don't normally share this in front of 200 now close personal friends. Thank you all. All right, but here we go. So I actually use 3 metrics for myself, and hear me out before you go. Oh my gosh, money, fun, and purpose, and not necessarily in any particular order, but money, fun, and purpose. So just enough money, right? Just to live comfortably, be able to raise a family, and you know, take care of yourself and maybe some friends, that kind of thing. You don't want to be a millionaire. I think that's a terrible, terrible outcome. You know, it's not all it's cracked up to be. Fun, right? Money, fun, and purpose. So fun, actually, you know, living a good life. We've heard about this. Like, you can't be a leader of people if you are not healthy yourself, right? You have to be healthy for the people that are choosing to follow you. And so fun, you know, is good relationships and doing work that's meaningful to you. And then purpose is actually feeling like you're helping to leave the world a little bit better of a place than you started with. So, and there's lots of ways to do that. There's, whether it's clean energy or health or you know, even just better marketing. There's lots of ways to feel that you're actually helping the world be a better place. So those three things really.
It's a great venture, and obviously you put some thought into it because you have stuff you do measure yourself against, so that's excellent. For people that are not familiar with Unbounce, do you want to tell us just quickly kind of what the services that you offer, potentially how people in this room might be able to benefit from it?
Oh yeah, sure.
So they certainly could.
Yeah,
so.
well, it depends. I mean, so we're not for everybody, right? But if you're doing online marketing, if you're engaged in online marketing, and you're running campaigns, and you're finding that, wow, you know what, they're not working out as well as we'd like, or our marketing team isn't able to iterate as quickly as they'd like, then our platform lets folks who don't have a design background or who don't have a programming background create landing pages for their campaigns in a drag and drop environment. They can publish those without going to IT or anything. We post all of that. And then they can, if you're running a lead gen campaign, for example, for your sales team or for anything, we integrate with CRMs and other systems. Generally, it's just point and click. And you can feed leads into whatever other system you want. And then the really fun stuff that we're working on is helping marketers be even better, because we talked about 70-20-10, and one of the things that we're doing is set the cup. You said, how do we ensure that we have a future? We are investing in the 10%, the kind of future-facing stuff. And so we do have a team working on AI and doing some really fun stuff around understanding what really works in marketing. And this is the fascinating thing. This is where I kind of get excited. Because, you know, marketers, if you guys have marketers on your team, just go and hug them when you get back, because it's a really hard job. Because you're trying to handicap generally like this huge audience. And you're trying to understand like what message is going to resonate with this audience that you try to package up into like personas and things like that. But they're different. They're like messy people. And understanding what will actually prompt somebody to open up their wallet or to give you their private information is really, really tough. But we're starting to use AI to understand what you can do in the content you create, very specifically the words, the imagery, the layout. What can you do to actually drive results? And some of it goes against what human intuition has taught us, right? And it's pretty fascinating stuff. So.
That is really cool, because like, as you say, having a good campaign, having a good A/B test, understanding, is this working or not? That's,
Totally.
like, that's kind of the 80% of marketing, but now
Totally.
you're talking about the 5% of, does this logo get here? Does this word change? That's the 1 or 2% in the corners.
Yes.
But, you know, that results in real money.
We've seen single word changes drive big results.
Right, but I just mean in the total effort of like that 2%, you wouldn't think that having such
Effort to impact.
outsized impact. Yeah,
100%, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Really interesting. Okay, great. Well, I appreciate your time. I think, do we have time for questions? One question?
One question.
One question. Okay, one
Wow, no pressure.
That's a question. Better be good. Yeah.
No, we'll take any question.
Yeah.
No question.
So, gaining your customers at the beginning and now, did it change a lot? At first, did you have to go out in person and talk to companies about your product, or did it spark up through Google?
Right, that's a great question. Yeah, so the question was how we get our customers, how we reach our customers, has that changed much? Did we have to reach out directly and do a lot of talking and everything, and has that changed? So it has changed. Early on, a lot of it was, again, through our content and our blog and sharing. Twitter worked really, really well for us because that's where all the content marketers were hanging out, and sharing good, actionable advice on Twitter got us eyeballs and awareness. And we've always been about self-serve. So you hit our website, credit card, and away you go. You're off to the races. And so we didn't have to do a lot of one-on-one to get our customers. You actually can't at the price point we're at. Our average is $137 a month. It's really hard to like reach out individually. But what's changed is that actually, it's really just correct one thing. We used to be about 50 average monthly revenue per customer. We've gotten that up to 137. That has allowed us to have an inside sales team that does some hand-holding on your very early first contacts. And then we've shifted from kind of social content-based sort of marketing to now paid, and we're going to probably spend like $2 million a year on paid advertising in the coming year, that kind of thing. So it has shifted for sure.
All right.
Thank you, Todd. Thanks for Harley.